Donald Trump is president of the United States. If he wanted you to see the Epstein list, he'd release it. But he's not. 20 years for child sex trafficking. But there's no record of who she trafficked the children to? Really?
I don't know about Epstein so much. You don't want to affect people's lives if it's phony stuff in there, because there's a lot of phony stuff with that whole world.
He played you for a sucker. MAGA, you gonna just shut up and fall in line like all the rest? Really?
He called himself a winner, but how did Trump become the joke? Stick around as we unveil the Lincoln Project's hysterical takedown of Trump's winning legacy. From boasts to breakdowns, we'll show you the parody ads that use Trump's own words to hilariously dismantle his larger-than-life ego. Before we move on, I would like you to subscribe to the channel and like the video. And Trump has built his entire identity around one word: winning. Honestly, it's like his favorite thing to say right after fake news. He doesn't just win, he only wins. At least that's how the story goes in Trump's world. We've all seen him hype himself as the guy with the golden touch.
He said it over and over for years.
Can you guarantee that Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security will not be touched?
Yeah, I mean, I have said it so many times, you shouldn't be asking me that question.
It is wrong to cut health care for the working poor.
There's a lot of MAGAs on Medicaid. I'm telling you, if you don't think so, you are dead wrong.
The effect of this bill is to break a promise.
Medicare, Medicaid, none of that stuff is going to be touched.
Nothing.
We're going to love and cherish Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. We're not going to do anything with that.
His biggest MAGA supporters said no cuts to Medicaid. He thinks you're stupid and he can fool you. He doesn't care about your health insurance. All he wanted was your vote. Donald Trump. It's just not working.
The billionaire businessman, the triumphant deal maker, the guy who somehow knows the best words. It's not just bragging with him, it's his brand. He tells crowds that he's unstoppable, unbeatable, the biggest winner ever. He even once said, "We're gonna win so much, you're gonna be sick and tired of winning." Yet I think the only thing people are tired of is him saying it. So how does a man who's painted himself as the ultimate victor deal with, losing? Turns out pretty badly. The 2020 election showed us a side of Trump that was less master of the universe and more man shouting at the cloud.
Hey MAGA, he played you for a sucker. He knew you wanted to know the truth about the Epstein list.
We need to release the Epstein list. That is an important thing.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I'll let
Trump thinks you're stupid. He can distract you. Trump's old friend Ghislaine Maxwell got 20 years for child sex trafficking.
I just wish her well, frankly.
It's sitting on my desk right now to review.
So you voted for Donald Trump. How's that working out?
Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein?
Elon demanded you release the Epstein files.
Losing that election wasn't just a political loss for him. It shattered the entire image he'd cultivated over decades. His reaction, a string of lawsuits that went nowhere, rallies filled with complaints instead of victory laps, and the infamous Sharpie on the weather map moment. Remember that one? Making reality match his claims has always been a little messy. And then there's the endless biggest claims he throws around like confetti. Biggest inauguration crowds, biggest rallies, biggest economy ever. Of course, those claims usually don't hold up under even the tiniest bit of scrutiny. For example, the photo comparisons from his inauguration versus Obama's in 2009, those were so stark that they became an internet meme overnight. And who could forget the Four Seasons Total Landscaping debacle, where his team literally held a press conference in a parking lot between a crematorium and an adult bookstore? If it wasn't so ridiculous, it'd almost be sad.
Uh-oh, Donald. It happened. The man who made you is now the man who betrayed you. Elon hurt your polls, your ratings. You threw him out.
President Trump and Elon Musk erupted into a nasty public feud today.
Stabbing you in the back. And you're so quiet about it. You had to, right? But now Elon's mad. Big time. Trying to kill your tax bill.
The bromance is definitely over.
So weak, so scared. Elon's got real money, not your crypto scam pocket change. Now he's out to get you. sad.
Here's the thing about Trump, his identity is so interwoven with this idea of always being on top that every loss, no matter how small, feels like a crack in the foundation of his persona. And that's where the Lincoln Project spotted his biggest weakness. They realized that challenging Trump's self-image wasn't just about showing he was wrong, it was about making him look ridiculous. After all, no one likes to be laughed at, least of all a man obsessed with being taken seriously. If you're not familiar with the Lincoln Project, they're like a gang of political pranksters who know how to hit Trump where it hurts. Their ads don't just fact check him or call him out for being, well, Trump. They dig deeper, focusing on how to completely undermine the winner aura he spent his life building. These aren't the typical dry political ads you mute during commercial breaks. These are personal, sharp, and savagely funny. What the Lincoln Project understands is that humor can cut deeper than facts ever could. Think about it. When someone lies, you can argue with them all day. But when someone makes a joke that hits the bullseye, that stings. Their strategy is simple but devastating. They take Trump's boldest claims and pair them with reality in a way that's so absurd, you can't help but laugh. It's like setting up a spotlight on everything he's trying to cover up. For example, there's an ad where Trump is bragging about how everyone loves him, and they intercut it with polling numbers showing, well, not everyone agrees. Another one highlights his endless claims about having the biggest crowds and then cuts to empty rally seats and reporters looking utterly unimpressed. The genius here? They barely need to edit these clips. Trump provides all the material himself. It's like a comedic goldmine, and the Lincoln Project knows exactly how to mine it.
Just a few years ago, an attack instigated by Donald Trump, an assault organized by his enablers and supported by White House staff. January 6th insurrectionists got pardons. LA protesters get bars. That's Donald Trump's America. Is it yours?
And let's be real, humor has staying power. Think about all the times you've remembered a ridiculous meme or a funny ad way longer than some heavy fact-filled report. That's what the Lincoln Project is banking on. Their ads stick in your brain because they're not just laying out the facts, they're letting Trump's own words do the heavy lifting. They create a disconnect between the man who says he's always winning and the reality that shows otherwise. When someone's entire persona is built on image, exposing the cracks in that image can be more devastating than any policy critique. So how do you bring down a guy who refuses to believe he's ever suffered a defeat? By turning his victories into punchlines and watching his carefully crafted persona unravel. The Lincoln Project figured out that you don't have to argue with Trump's claims, you just have to show the absurdity of them. It's like watching a magician accidentally reveal how the trick works. Once you've seen it, the magic disappears. But here's what makes this strategy so brilliant. The Lincoln Project isn't just playing to hardcore Trump critics, they're targeting everyone, from independent voters to people who might have been on the fence. By framing Trump's failures in a way that's funny, they're making it easier for people to laugh at him. And let's face it, once you start laughing at someone, it's hard to take them seriously again. So what's the big takeaway here? By weaponizing humor, the Lincoln Project isn't just humiliating Trump, they're chipping away at the foundation of his entire persona. And spoiler, Trump absolutely hates it. But how exactly does this strategy work in practice? Stick around, because if you thought this was brutal, wait until we talk about their real secret weapon, comedy. What's worse than being criticized? Being laughed at, and if there's one thing Trump hates, it's being the butt of the joke. Criticism can be brushed off as fake news or jealousy, but comedy? That's like kryptonite to the Trump persona. Laughter undermines authority in a way no fact check ever could. One good joke, well timed, can poke a hole right through the winner image he spent decades polishing. And the Lincoln Project? They've weaponized humor better than anyone in the political arena.
It's amazing. Some people still think Donald Trump knows how to negotiate, that he's a deal maker. But really, he's a chicken. Wall Street figured it out. Same trade every time. It's the taco trade, because Trump always chickens out. He talks a big game on tariffs, then backs down. Over and over. When Trump goes hard on something, just bet on the dip. Wait for Trump to blink, then cash in on the rebound. Every single time. Trump always chickens out. He's not a deal maker. He's not a negotiator. He's a taco.
Trump thrives on control. Control of the narrative, control over how people perceive him, even control over what the weather looks like on a hurricane map. But comedy, especially when it comes in the form of parody ads, snatches that control away instantly. The Lincoln Project figured out early on that they didn't have to do much heavy lifting to make him look foolish. Instead, they take the words right out of Trump's mouth and turn them into the punchline. Their strategy avoids the kind of over-the-top editing or dramatic voiceovers you might see in traditional political attack ads. The simplicity, that's the beauty of it. They realize Trump is his own worst enemy because everything he says is already so exaggerated, so absurd, it's practically begging for satire. Take, for example, one of their ads where Trump boasts, "I'm the most honest man you'll ever know," while footage rolls of him fumbling for excuses about classified documents and election fraud. The disconnect between his words and his actions is comical on its face. They don't even have to exaggerate. They just shine a spotlight on the absurdity. Another ad juxtaposes Trump's bragging about his landslide victory with headlines screaming about his lawsuits and election losses. It's cutting, but the genius lies in how effortless it all seems. It's like watching someone trip over their own shoelaces in slow motion over and over. You almost forget it's not a scripted sitcom, it's just Trump being Trump. The Lincoln Project's approach works because comedy is memorable. Psychologists have long said that things that make us laugh stick with us more than things that make us think. It's why you probably remember that hilarious meme your friend sent you last month, but not the detailed article you read last week. Memes and jokes cut through the white noise, and that's exactly what the Lincoln Project is doing. Their ads aren't just campaign material, they're turning Trump into a caricature. And once someone is reduced to a caricature, their credibility starts to crumble. An unstoppable winner might be intimidating, but a guy who looks like he's living in a cartoon, that's harder to stand behind. And let's face it, Trump set himself up for this. His entire brand thrives on hyperbole, the biggest, the greatest, the best. But when the reality doesn't match the bombastic claims, it's a short leap to comedy. The Lincoln Project understands that they don't even need to fact check, argue, or explain. They just need to show the gaps between the bluster and the truth. The ads practically write themselves. Trump says, "We've had the biggest crowds ever," and they cut to aerial footage of empty rally seats. He brags about everyone loving him, and they flash polls that scream the opposite. It's devastatingly simple. There's even a strategy behind how authentic the ads feel. By sticking to Trump's own words and actions, the Lincoln Project avoids coming off as manipulative or overly partisan. The sound bites they use are raw, unpolished, exactly as Trump said them. That kind of authenticity is what drives the humor home. It's not some slick Hollywood production tearing him down. It's Trump holding the shovel and digging the hole, while the Lincoln Project stands back, waiting to point and laugh. It works because it feels real. You're not being told what to think. You're being shown the ridiculousness and left to laugh or cringe on your own.
You voted to cut the price of eggs, not for a $50,000 bill your family can't pay. You voted to cut the price of gas, not to have mom or dad thrown out of nursing home care. The MAGA murder budget is going to kill people. Millions will lose care they can't afford any other way. People with diabetes, kidney disease, cancer, Alzheimer's. You voted for a stronger economy, not to close over 300 hospitals in farm states. But Congress voted to put the burden on you, to put your family and your finances at risk. It's not about Republicans or Democrats now. It's about right and wrong. Tell your senator, this is wrong.
What's even funnier is how Trump reacts to this ridicule. While most politicians might shrug it off or pretend not to notice, Trump can't help himself. Every parody ad, every viral joke feels like it pulls the strings of his ego. He spent years building this image of dominance and invulnerability, so when someone pokes at it, he lashes out. The Lincoln Project knows this and bakes it into their strategy. It's almost like they're trolling him on purpose. And let's be honest, they kind of are. They know the ads will get under his skin because nothing stings like being turned into a joke, especially for someone who demands constant admiration. And Trump's reactions often backfire spectacularly. He'll post angry rants about how unfair the ads are, sometimes all caps tweeting about the losers at the Lincoln Project. But here's the thing, every one of his meltdowns gives their work even more attention. His complaints amplify the jokes, making them even harder to ignore. It's a feedback loop of humiliation, where the more he fights back, the funnier it gets. This isn't just about pushing back against criticism, it's about how his inability to laugh at himself fuels the very strategy aimed at tearing him down. Here's the brilliance of it all. The Lincoln Project isn't just trolling, they're rewriting the rules of political warfare by using comedy as a precision strike. Instead of wading through the thick swamp of policy debates or trying to out-yell Trump's rhetoric, they're taking a completely different route. They know it's not enough to call him out or beat him at his own game. They've opted to change the game entirely, turning Trump's words, actions, and failures into an unending source of material. And ironically, Trump himself is handing them the ammo. But if you thought the ads were brutal, you'll want to stick around for what happens when Trump takes the bait. Because in this battle of mockery, the funniest part isn't the ads themselves. It's Trump's over-the-top reactions that blow everything up even further. When Trump tweets in all caps, you can almost hear the Lincoln Project cracking open a bottle of champagne. His inability to let an insult slide, a hallmark of his entire public persona, isn't just entertaining, it's their secret weapon. For someone who prides himself on projecting an unshakable, dominant image, Trump has a curious habit of taking criticism way too personally, especially when it makes him look foolish. And the Lincoln Project knows exactly how to exploit this thin-skinned nature. Their parody ads aren't just designed to humiliate him, they're designed to provoke a reaction. Because when Trump reacts, the joke doesn't just land, it goes viral. Take the time the Lincoln Project put out an ad targeting Trump's obsession with being adored by his supporters. The ad was clever, juxtaposing his claims of unwavering loyalty with footage of dwindling crowds and less enthusiastic audiences during his rallies. Pretty embarrassing stuff, but instead of ignoring it, Trump did what Trump does best. He lashed out. He called the ad fake news, accused the Lincoln Project of dishonesty, and claimed they were losers trying to tear him down. The result? The ad gained millions of additional views as news outlets and social media spread his outrage like wildfire. That's the Streisand effect in action. The very act of complaining about the ad amplified it tenfold. And it doesn't stop there. Trump's reactions often seem plucked right out of a satirical skit. He's called them names, accused them of bizarre conspiracies, and even insisted on unreal levels of success to paint himself as untouchable. But his anger does the opposite of what he intends. By running to his social media platforms, typing out long-winded rants in all caps, he unintentionally hands the Lincoln Project more material to work with. Every time he explodes, his outrage becomes as much a part of the spectacle as the original parody. You see, the Lincoln Project isn't just in the business of creating ads. They've built an entire content machine. They craft these savage attacks knowing that Trump won't be able to resist taking the bait. His ego won't allow it, and once he responds, the cycle begins again. His tweets, posts, and outbursts shine an even bigger spotlight on the very content designed to embarrass him. Then they take his over-the-top reactions, recycle them into new ads, and the whole thing repeats itself. This is what we call the comedy feedback loop, and Trump throws himself into it every single time like clockwork. It's no secret Trump loves to feel in control, especially when it comes to how the world sees him. That's why these ads sting so much. They don't just call him out, they turn him into a joke. For a guy who's all about image, being laughed at is the ultimate insult. Once people are giggling at your expense, it's hard to demand respect. So Trump, desperate to reclaim his dignity, fights back, but his attempts to set the record straight almost always end up backfiring. If anything, they only make him look more foolish, more sensitive, and more out of touch. It's a cycle that's so predictable, the Lincoln Project can practically script their next move while he's typing out his latest meltdown. Let's not forget Trump's favorite defense mechanism, name-calling. He's quick to brand his critics with juvenile nicknames like losers or lightweights, but these insults don't land the way he thinks they do. If anything, they reinforce the very caricature the Lincoln Project is painting of him, a man who can dish it out but can't take it. By reacting with the verbal equivalent of a tantrum, he feeds right into the image of someone who is, dare we say, not winning. One of the funniest things about this whole dynamic is that Trump can't seem to recognize how much power he's giving the Lincoln Project. If he ignored the ads, they'd still be effective, sure, but they wouldn't reach the same level of cultural saturation. His attempts to clap back turn what might have just been a sharp joke into a national conversation. It's like watching someone angrily throw water on a grease fire, only to see the flames shoot up higher. Trump provides the flames, the fuel, and the fan to spread the whole thing wider, ensuring everyone's talking about how ridiculous he looks. The Lincoln Project has become experts in identifying the moments when Trump is most vulnerable, whether it's during a legal battle, a bad news day, or yet another public gaffe, and timing their ads to hit him where it hurts. They know that humiliation stings more than debate, and they know that Trump can't let it slide. By the time he's done responding, their latest attack has already made headlines. What makes this also effective isn't just Trump's inability to laugh at himself, it's that his reactions keep the Lincoln Project relevant. Every time he bites back, every time he tweets, it reminds people of the very thing he's trying to bury. If he let the ads fade into the background, they'd lose their edge. But Trump's ego won't let that happen. He can't resist the bait, and the Lincoln Project knows exactly how to dangle it in front of him. In the end, Trump's biggest weakness isn't the Lincoln Project itself. It's his own refusal to stop the cycle. By taking himself so seriously and refusing to let insults roll off his back, he's given these parody ads a life of their own. It's the ultimate irony. The man who prides himself on being untouchable keeps tripping over his own ego, creating a comedy marathon that shows no signs of stopping. So what does this endless loop of humiliation mean for Trump's image? Let's break it down. In trying so hard to protect his image, Trump has become the architect of his own humiliation. Every angry tweet, every rant, every all-caps meltdown only fuels the Lincoln Project's narrative, turning their ads into must-watch comedy. They've proven one simple truth. The best way to defeat a bully isn't to outshout them, it's to outlaugh them. By using Trump's own words against him, they've created a recipe for political satire that's impossible to ignore. So keep watching, keep laughing, and remember, every time Trump loses his cool, he's writing the next punchline for all of us to enjoy.